Hello, everyone. This is the chart that starts us out for the week, August the 31st through September the 7th, 2022. The early AM, we start out with Lady Luna in the sign of Scorpio. Then she will go void of course as she moves into the sign of Sagittarius by the 2nd. On the 3rd is our second quarter moon. And then she will begin to make her way into the sign of Capricorn. This will have us getting practical with our emotions and with our feelings. And then by the 6th, she is going to be void of course as she moves into the forward thinking sign of Aquarius by the 7th. Aquarius is our innovative forward thinking, and this is really going to matter as we go into this chart and talk about the aspects that will be influencing our week. So, yes, she will be meeting Saturn. She will be having those squares that Saturn has, and we are opening our minds up here. The moon is our emotions. It's our emotional house as well, and it's dreams, and it's really connecting us to home and to mother. So it will also take us into that spiritual part of us as well. So I cannot wait to talk with you more about the upcoming events. Stay tuned. That was a little peek of our moon, and let's see what's going on in the rest of astrology. Welcome to the AstroTarot Show. I'm your host, Serona Rose, and merry meet to you all. August has just flown by, and I really can't believe how fast it's went. I mean, we are already at the end of August, and where has this year went? So this reading will be from August the 31st to September the 7th. So there is some movement that went on. Before now, we just had our Virgo new moon, as well as Uranus going retrograde, and now our outer planets are retrograde. So let's talk about some other happenings that is in our planetary mix there that is really going to influence some of our energies. Now, on Labor Day, so happy Labor Day, everyone, on the 5th of September, Venus moves out of the fun-loving sign of Leo into the earth sign of Virgo. And this is going to, Venus will then oppose Vesta. Now, I normally do not talk about asteroids that much or dwarf planets, but, this one I feel the great need to, because this is two of our divine feminine. These are two goddesses, and they're opposing each other. So this is important. Vesta is not an aggressive sign, neither is Venus. So when these two are opposing each other, there's something here that we need to look at. So let's talk about Vesta a little bit. Vesta is the largest object in the astral belt. Unique as it is, it has light and dark patches on the surface. So this is proof that lava once ran across the surface. So remember that. It has light and dark patches. Okay? This is the representation of our inner flame. Vesta is the hearth fire. And Vesta, she represents our inner flame. It's that spark of life that we have within us. So she is about how do we express our spiritual devotion. Vesta, the goddess of hearth and home, she is the sacred flame. And I'm sure you've all heard of the Vestal Virgins. These are her priestesses. So this Vesta represents one of the three virgin goddesses, which means wholeness. Now understand, words have taken different meanings through the ages, and it seems like And even as we go now, people try to redefine words then from their true meaning. And this is what happens, that we get some confusion set in. Virgin doesn't mean someone who hasn't, sexually been with a male. This represents that she is not married. So we need to think about that. She was not married. She was whole unto herself. And that was mostly, the Greek version was, she was unto the self. So she refused to marry Apollo or Poseidon. But they could have been lovers. Just because, and we know the goddess and gods, especially the Greek and Roman, well, all of them really, they took on lovers of many kinds and consorts. So they would typically have one and then have lovers. But I will say some of them were not married at all and just had lovers. The Vestal virgins, her priestesses, kept the sacred fire burning that protected the city from strife. And in ancient Roman times, this was one of their duties, and chastity was a must. It was required, and any priestess caught having sex during the 30-year time was buried alive outside the gates of Rome. Their blood was sacred and could not be spilled. Okay? So these were priestesses that were, every bit of them were, they were considered pure. And it was, it was unlawful for them to spill blood because they were vessels. They were sacred. The vessels could marry afterwards, but many did not. Their service was one that was not only spiritual but physical. Demetra George states in Asteroid Goddesses, Vesta represents the sacred dimension of our spirit, of our sexuality, and how our inner flames of desire translates into spiritual yearning. It is devotion to our spiritual path. So this is really tapping into our sacredness and our spirituality of who we are. We are sacred beings, and I think that, especially in a world that has, and I don't want to, this has been so bombarded, but in the world of patriarchy, that sacredness has been a little, I would say, scattered. We either have the whore complex or we have the Madonna complex, and there's not the in between. There's not the exception, so to speak. So when we look at this as wholes, as women, it's calling back and of our sacredness of our divine self. How are we serving ourselves spiritually? How are we keeping our inner hearth fire lit? How are we, keeping ourselves pure for our intentions and our endeavors and our wants and our needs? How are we keeping that pure? Are we getting that tainted? Are we allowing people to just come in and dirty up our temple? This is about sacredness. And to me, this is really feeling the need of learning the sacredness of sexuality and the sacredness and how of the holiness of the body. So in saying that, Venus loves luxury. She loves feeling good. She likes the finer things in life. And, in Leo, this was good energy. This was yes energy. And Vesta is reminding Venus of something that is bigger than her. It's like, these instant gratifications, they're great, but is that all there is? And Vesta says, no, there's more. So there's something bigger. Sexuality, spirituality. These energies are very similar, but yet they're different. And they're both equally sacred. I hear women complain about how men treat them, yet continue to allow the man to treat them the same way over and over. To treat them in unsacred ways. And of course, they're different, there's all different ways, and there are exceptions to that. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the surface here. I'm talking about the collective. And to say that, when we look at the feminine, we have to look at how it's treated on a whole. And this goes along with the masculine as well. Because when we say that we have to teach people how to treat us, well, that goes both ways. So I will say that, sexuality is a sacred thing, but unfortunately, it is used to manipulate and disconnect people from the greater meaning. Divine feminine energy is looking at the sacredness of their holy vessel. And we have beautiful Venus that is standing there in all of her beautiful glory. And, all of her other aspects that she's had a few. And she went through this point of having to recalibrate herself, so to speak. And now she is looking at Vesta, and Vesta is saying, are you treating your vessel as sacred as it should be treated and holy? Or stop giving yourself away. Stop giving yourself away to people who have no value for you. Venus is about our values. And, when we are giving more than we are receiving, that's a problem. We have to watch out for that. Healing of the wounded parts of us, it's very important for that. If we are not getting, if there's no fairly give and take, then we have a little bit of an issue there, a draining of energy. We are healing the wounded parts of us. So it's not about pleasing others. It's about what feels comfortable with you. And when we can look at some of the things that are considered in beauty, like in beauty magazines, we see women that are very, very thin, and most of the times they're put on very stringent diets, and they can only eat certain foods because they have to stay a certain weight. Most of what is considered beauty or fashion is basically young teenage boys or women that look like young teenage boys. And that is a little bit disturbing. So what is beauty? What is beauty? What do we consider beautiful? What do we consider sacred in that? And even with women, when we see the pictures of women of how they look, women come in all different shapes, sizes, all different varieties. So beauty comes in many different forms. That is correct. But we must still treat it as the sacred vessel that it is. And one thing that is important is sacred space. Sacred space is important for all of us because it allows us that moment to go inward and to sit and to contemplate and to align, to balance, to adjust, those sort of things. Women are the portal to this dimension. Women are the life bringers. They bring life into this world. And while all women may not physically give birth, they give birth in different ways. I believe everyone has a purpose, everyone has a meaning, and so forth. But women are the conduit of that physical manifestation. Now, this is a real call to this opposition that Venus is having with Vesta is really calling us to bring back sacredness within the self, within sexuality, within all that we do. Such as a friend described me that sacred sexuality bonds, and it gives us permission to fully express ourselves in those ways. But I feel that sacred sexuality, it grounds the relationship, and it brings a deeper bond than what would normally have. And, you know, it's two seeing into each other and understanding that when we come together at that moment, that we are one and not two. That is that part of the sacredness. So this is very important as we are moving on to the next steps of this year and so forth, and the energy that's happening. On the 1st, Venus opposed Saturn, and that's going back to, I believe, the Thursday. That is to tomorrow, Thursday. Venus will oppose Saturn. We're going to have to work on moderation that day, unfortunately. We can't go overboard. While Venus is still in Leo, though, we can take advantage of things, but we can go too far. This can be very excessive. We have to watch out with that. Goddess energy is inclusive. It is all-encompassing, right? But that can go too far. And Saturn says, whoa, 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 whoa. When Venus opposed Saturn, he's saying, you know, understand that going extreme in either way is bad. We need to learn moderation. So that God, Father Time there, Saturn, reminds us that healthy boundaries are a must. They are there to help us in many different ways. They are there to protect us, you know, protect me from you and you from me. Saturn, excuse me. Saturn is known as Father Time, and he brings self-discipline to us. He reminds us of our responsibilities and what is at stake and what we have to lose. He also is very trustworthy. And right now he is an Aquarius. So this can enhance our rational mind, allowing us to learn easy. So this is really good, especially opposing Venus. If things are taken too far, the lessons will be easily understood. So it shouldn't be a very hard opposition. It should be one of reminding us of how important boundaries are and how it does allow the safety for all involved. Saturn also represents, you know, learning from experience. And that's one thing we have to realize is that, you know, life is experimental. I mean, it's experiential. It is about experience, and it's allowing every step of your life to unfold. So this is a very personable placement happening with Venus opposing Saturn, and then going on and opposing Vesta. These are very personal, but it is staying in the mental part of it, because sometimes we can overthink, right? That will actually alienate us from others. So we have to, if we need to talk, we need to talk to our friends, our significant others, things like that. We have to understand that Aquarius is the leading edge of thought. And with Saturn in it, there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of I won't say resistance. There's a lot of blockage of energy there, because Aquarius can take it to the next level really fast. And Saturn says, no, we have to allow the unfolding in the certain time that it should. We cannot rush. Vesta is in Aquarius as well. And Vesta is retrograde right now. She'll go direct October the 5th of this year. And this is showing us that our ideas are shifting. We are beginning to see the greater good. Many can be volunteering their time and focusing on helping humanity. So this is highly going on through this part into September, and even going into October, as Venus is working her way through Aquarius. We could see more of people wanting to give. Let's face it, there's some people who take all the time. There's some people who just want and want and want, and they're still not satisfied. They have everything and they're still not satisfied. And you have to understand that giving is good, is really good for the health as well. Giving, that brings us so much happiness. You cannot believe. If you have ever volunteered and you've helped people come out of crisis and traumas and things such as that, that is very rewarding. You help someone. You help them take a step up in life. Helping humanity is one of the biggest things that needs to happen right now. But this is on a global level. And this is one that we really need to look at, because this placement, the placement of Venus, the placement of her opposing Saturn, and then going and opposing Vesta, this placement, it's bringing back sacredness into our life and the need for it. Aquarius is innovation at its best, and it goes beyond the traditional means. So this is not it's not one of the regular thinking. It's experimenting, and with novel methods, and many ways that are ahead of its time. Again, that's what Aquarius does. It looks forward. It's innovating. It's saying, how can we push forward? The problem is that Aquarius get so stuck in its head that it forgets its heart. And with Vesta traveling through Aquarius, she's reminding Aquarius of the sacred hearth within, that we have to remember the sacredness that lives within every single living creature on this earth, every single one. So we're seeing a big movement of old patterns breaking, new ones developing. There's sparks of change there, of new life. There are limits now. Saturn says, hey, there's limits on what we consider our foundation, and we're looking at our systems and structures. So we are the choices and differences that we're having. We're saying, okay, are we going to be the free thinker, or are we going into the everyday grind? That is the biggest one. we're having to look at these different systems that we have been brought up in and that we have lived in for so many years, and we're having to say, wait a minute, some things are not working here. Some things are not working. There's been a lot of stuff that's been left out. The heart has been left out. Sacredness has been left out. Those different things. But at the same time, Saturn says boundaries have been left out. That boundaries are there for a reason, and they're there for our protection for all, and we must not forget that. The way we define science in mainstream has put us in the role of observer, right? Something's wrong with us, we go to a doctor. We always think that someone, when they have some little initials outside of, after their name, we think that they know more than we do about ourselves, and that is wrong. We need to learn to tune in. We're seeing this more and more. We have become detached from ourselves, and we have become so dependent upon looking outside of us for fulfillment, for help, for everything, that we fail to look within. So we need to bring that altar out of the sky, right, and back down to earth. It's time to come back to earth and to get real with ourselves and to be reminded who we are. And that's Vesta's whole thing, is about being, she wants to remind us of our sacred hearth that lies within. One of the things that we have to consider as well, and I know a lot of people have asked this because of what the world is going through right now, and the world is going through a dark night of the soul, and we can see this. We can fully see this. Many people ask, how can we be of spiritual service to the world? And, with all of this going on, we can just, how is what I'm doing helps? But it does help. Do not give up. When we are looking at all of the madness and chaos, every little bit of that spiritual service, every little bit of the healing that we send, it does make a difference. And I do feel being of spiritual service to the world, that's the priestess herself. That is the priestess going out and helping those. A lot of and this is so true in the men's world. I can't speak for the men's world because I'm not a man. I'm a woman, and I can speak of the women's mysteries. And I can see where the women's mysteries are lacking in our world now. And I can also see where the men's mysteries are lacking in our world as well. Because, when people want to say patriarch, that's not masculine. That's not divine masculine energy. The patriarch and the divine masculine are two different things. So anyway, I want to go over to our divine masculine a little bit. Mars is in Gemini, and Mars loves how the active mental mind of Gemini is. Gemini, the twins there, they're so on mentally. The air, it's active, and that's what Mars likes. Mars likes that active energy. But all that activity and everything going on, we can get lost in the mind, and we can miss opportunities. Being so scattered mind and scattered energy is not really good. It's not focused, and that can be a problem. This is when things could excite you, but the flame is short-lived. Ground this energy and use it to inspire others, especially through writing or speeches. So this will be a good way to let out some of this energy that you may be having. This will affect the fire signs, especially Aries. This can affect Scorpio as well, because at one time Mars was Scorpio's planet. So all the fire signs here, you can feel real scattered mind. I've been feeling that way myself, and I've had to stop myself and ground myself also with everything else that's going on in my life. But writing has really helped me. Writing and sitting down and just communicating these thoughts and different aspects. This has been really helpful. With our divine feminine, while she's in Leo, this energy can be fun and short-lived. So life does come to call. And when we have Mars in Gemini and Venus in Leo, as far as relationship-wise goes, if you're looking for someone, this could be very exciting relationships. This could be very fun. This could be, remember the sacredness though. Keep the sacredness. Understand that some people come into your life for seasons. Those relationships that are made during that time when the masculine and feminine are in these free kind of energies, those relationships don't always work out, but they're very fun. Now, life does come to call. So when Venus moves into Virgo, this is when stability is going to start setting in. So this placement reminds us to give our love to a higher purpose. Other than just selfish desires and satisfaction, that we need to give our love to higher purpose. Self-care includes honoring the soul. It doesn't just include the hot bath with a glass of wine. Self-care is about honoring the soul. It's about making sure that you have divided your time up between your work, your everyday life, as well as your spiritual life. On September the 29th, that is when Venus moves into Libra, and the energetic dynamic will change with that, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So Uranus, man, Uranus has been in the papers of late. He has been all over the astrology world, and it's Uranus and the North Node meeting up in Taurus. This is a little bit of intense energy. And now, especially with him going retrograde, well, the North Node is retrograde as well. So they're going back over some ideas, and they're still hanging around each other. Again, Uranus brings up what needs to shift, and he wants to raise our consciousness by awakening us. Remember, it's the and it's normally not the nice awakening. It's the lightning bolt awakening. Taurus is earth, and it's the material. So again, this is going to money, food, attachments of the physical, all of these things. We're looking at those and seeing where, what is taxing us, what is not. We're seeing so many different people change the way they look at life in general, of, a lot of people that are coming out of debt, a lot of people that just, again, people that are downsizing their homes, they're going solar energy and whatnot. So this is an ongoing, they're growing their own food. That is the biggest thing, the biggest upkick of gardening. All of this is changing. They don't want the nice BMWs. They want a stable vehicle that will be able to get them where they want to go. And, those places they, need to go. Getting out in nature more and bonding with Mother Earth. Virgo is Mother Earth. So, she's that earth sign. So that is, Virgo energy is very, very, very much calling us to get out and explore nature. So Saturn is going to square Uranus in the North Node, and then trine Chiron. So this is restriction and liberation and the future of healing. So again, we could see some more healing advancements come about that's not in the traditional way, that is kind of in the future. We're looking at food now as, we used to look at food as, oh, I got to eat. Well, food is nurturing to our body. We got to remember the sacredness of food as well. This is part of Venus, right? This is a part of, food is a part of our Earth Mother. this is about eating with intent, and not just for, whatever, just, oh, I'm feeling the hole in my stomach. No, we need to look at food differently. Any of you that have been to the pagan festivals and have been in pagan get-togethers and stuff, you know how important food is. Sitting down and sharing a meal with everyone is so touching. It is. It nurtures the body. It feeds the body. It is a time of really coming together and bonding and talking. This is such a it's such a sacred act. And people used to take their food. Our ancestors would take their food, a portion of their food, and burn it to the gods. That was mindful. And then we talk about water. We talk about how, Dr. Emoto, how he would talk to the water would change its molecules. These things matter. Jupiter is in Aries right now, and he is also squaring the Uranus, the North Node, and Chiron. And here, with the healing, Saturn is going to tell us to take a disciplined approach and not a radical one that is going into healing not of the norm. So Western medicine is more of practicing medicine, of putting that Band-Aid on. And when we go beyond that, let's look at healing. Let's look at actually not having to worry about this anymore. Let's look at and healing it more of a natural way, from the earth, or and then stepping up to have this benefit society in the whole. When we look at Western medicine, we look at all of these beautiful innovations that they have, and they're wonderful, but we have to, blend that with the natural ways, and they did that in a way because their medicines came from herbs, but at the same time they've separated it. So that needs to come back and play and look at healing. Okay, so you have to have surgery, that's fine. But also, after you have surgery, it's important to have energy work done as well, because that does create trauma in your energetic body. So that's very important. So we're looking also at healing as more of a personal choice. You shouldn't have to take a medicine and just then have to take another medicine for that. You should have the opportunity to take something that's actually going to heal you and going to give your body, replenish the body of the deficiency that it's having. Aquarius is holding up with the energy, but Saturn in Aquarius is holding up with the energy, but I do believe that these forward advancements are allowing science, so to speak, to work out the kinks. Remember, we have to go slowly and allow the unfolding, because there are things that need to be considered. There are things that need to be worked out. Virgo, again. Virgo, it rules the nervous system. And it also rules our intestines. During this time, we can look at what's draining us. We can look at our nervous tension, what's giving us anxiety, emotional stress. Virgoans themselves are big worriers. They have been known to worry themselves to death. So we have to get in touch with our bodies in order to allow this not to happen. If we are in anxiety and we are having stress, instead of popping a pill, we need to learn how to work at that in more of a healthy way. I'm not saying to go out there and stop your medicine or anything like that. Always consult with your doctor. Again, these things need to go hand in hand. If you want to heal, You have to be willing to do what you need to do in order to heal. So we need, during this time, we can learn to turn that mental tension, work it out of us, exercise, going for a walk, getting that out of us somehow. It's very important that we get that out, because that tension, anxiety, and stress that within us, that can actually turn into a physical illness. So we can literally make our own self sick. So we have to watch that. We really have to watch that, and that's for all of us. All of us. We need to learn how to handle stress and not avoid it. Many ways that we avoid it: we can get drunk, depending on where you live, get high or whatever, anything that you use for escapism. We can't fully escape, even though those things can help us, yes, but we can't escape from our problems. So again, even with things like that, it's about healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. You don't have to stop everything. You have to learn moderation. And in a world of excess, it's really hard, right? So learning that, I think that this Virgo season, it's very practical and it's simple, and it likes that flow, and it's so earthy, and it really taps us into ourself. And I think that if we really tap into this energy, and we really want to do the healthiest thing for ourselves, we will work on reducing and adjusting things in our lives in order to make that happen, or even increasing. Meditation is so important. A lot of people have trouble meditating, and I get it. I've been meditating for years, and sometimes my mind can still get away from me. But when you breathe in for 4 and out for 4, and just pay attention to your breath and how it fills up your lungs, and then when you release, how your body feels when it releases. When you are consciously doing this, you start becoming aware of everything in your body. Again, you may not do it overnight, and no one expects you to. Step by step. Self-healing is a process, and it's something that we have to learn. We're not taught it unless we have wonderful parents that are into it as well, but we can do that. And I think that if we focus on really connecting to our bodies in practical ways and in simple ways, I think that will really help us going forward. So anyway, that is it for the astrology reading. There was so much more I could talk about, but again, I don't want to keep you on here forever. We do have the reading, and that is coming up next, so I can't wait to get that out. I hope that it really does go with this. Normally, all the readings go so well with the astrology. It's unreal. But at this time frame, we are really tapping into that sacred vessel that we are, and we are looking at how we treat it, how we allow it to be treated, and what we're going to do to honor our sacred vessel. So I will see you back in a few minutes. Many blessings.